Hey, this is James from Lone Star Reef. We got a pretty good episode for you today. We're going to talk about and show you how to frag some corals. First off, we're going to frag a hard coral, and we're going to frag an LPS, kryptonite, candy cane, and then we're going to frag some zoes. The zoes are kind of dangerous, and I'll explain everything as I'm fragging those. Right at this very time, I'm having a little bit of STN in my tank, which is slow tissue necrosis, which the algae in the corals leaves the corals and it leaches out. It seems to be that this time of year is bad on coral reefs. There's been a few different things to where they say it's the light or it's the moon being close to the earth, and just different things that will bleach out the corals. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but I know that friends of mine and I have trouble sometimes with the corals at this time of year. So we've lost a few corals. We have got some that are slow necrosis, and we're going to frag some up and try to save those colonies. So we're going to do that, and I'll be back at the end of this episode and let you all know what's coming up next. So stay tuned for the fragging of the hard coral. Alright, we're back, and by now you've seen the fragging of those corals. Again, I cannot say enough about protection whenever you frag the zoes and the pallies. Those are extremely toxic. Those are something you have to be very careful with. So make sure you have eyewear and gloves, and make sure you do all that. Next episode, we're going to talk about our fish that we have in here, the husbandry of the fish, how to take care of them, what to feed them, how much to feed them, what they like, and trying to get some of the mandarins and the dragonets to eat frozen food and such like that. So we're gonna wrap up here at this time. Stay tuned in 2 weeks, actually a week and a half, because this one is late. I apologize for that, but we'll get on track here and get all that figured out. So next week we're going to talk about the fish, how to take care of them, some husbandry of the fish. I hope you all enjoyed this episode. See you next week. Alright, we're going to do some zoanthids now. The most important thing to remember with zoanthids, whenever you're doing them, they have a palitoxin. The toxin is very, very, I'm not going to say deadly, but it will irritate your skin. It will cause you to go to the hospital. It's very, very irritating, I guess is the right word to say. But you will go to the hospital if something were to get into a cut into your eyes. From personal experience, I know this. So you need to wear your gloves so you can cover up any cuts or anything you have. Make sure you have a face shield or glasses, something like that to cover up your eyes. That's very, very important when you deal with these. This piece right here, we've already gone ahead and cut this little piece off. This was right here, so that cuts us a few of them right there. That gives us a nice little frag. We're going to take some here. We got a few right there. We're going to go ahead and cut those off also. Make sure you keep your mouth shut too. So if this squirts out and gets into your mouth, you're going to get sick. So just make sure you keep your mouth shut. Sometimes that's hard for me. So. And there we go. There's another frag, another little good frag that we can take and go ahead and glue to a plug, and then that'll grow on the plug, and we'll have some of those. And then that's our colony that we're going to have. Now that was an easy one. So that was something just cutting the rock and them coming loose. What we're going to do now is we're going to get this off of our. We use our handy dandy Lone Star Reef frag rack right there. So what we're going to do here is we want to get these zoes off of this plug and get them the right side up. So you can see that they're all growing on the plug, so we're going to have to cut them off. The best way to do this, if you're able to, is to get up underneath the zoes and to get a little layer of the rock or whatever they're on. If not, then we just have to scrape them off and try to get a little bit of something up underneath them. You can go deep down in here. Again, you have to be very careful not to cut yourself. Hopefully I won't. And we're going to scrape those like that. And as you can see, you're getting a little piece of something up underneath the zoes. That helps them not to bruise and helps them so that they'll grow a lot better, or at least take hold a lot better. So we're going to go up underneath these like this all the way around. And then from here we're going to go around this edge here, and we're going to try to get some of the compressed aragonite that these frags that these zoes are on. Try to get a little bit of that up underneath there. That way we have actually something to glue to the other frag, the frag plug, and it keeps them from being cut and bruised. And you see right there. And you can see how we got a little piece of the frag plug, the compressed aragonite. And that's another reason I like to use these. We've got a piece of aragonite up underneath there like that. And then that's the frag right there. And we're going to have to cut this one right there. And there we go. And then we can take this and we can put it back into our tank and let it grow, since we still have a few on there like that. And then we'll go ahead and we'll get some. What we need to do is, again, I like to dry these out a little bit. So we'll just take these out of the water and we'll set them there on the towel, and we'll let that dry out just a little bit. Okay. Now these usually have to have a little bit more glue on them than SPS. What happens is the glue dries, and then these will shrink up and they'll float away, and you will be left with just a bare frag plug. So we try to do, that's why we try to get the pieces on the bottom of them. That way we can glue it to that and they won't float away. So there we have that one. And we have a big piece of rock. We could leave that on the rock like that, or we could glue it to a frag plug, and then it would be easier to set in the tank. Some people don't like frag plugs in their tank. They say it looks unnatural, which I guess it does at the beginning until they get all covered up. But usually it doesn't take very long for them to get covered up, and then they look natural. I like to do this because you can place them. What I do is I take a masonry bit and I drill holes in my rock before I put the rock inside the tank, and that way I'm able to put these plugs down inside the holes, and whenever they cover up and grow over, then everything looks really natural. If you'd like more information about that, you can message me, leave a message down there on the bottom, or direct message me, and I can talk to you about that. Cut this off, maybe see if we can get this little flatter right here so we can glue this. Dry it out a little bit. Then we leave it like that. Now, after you get done with this, it is very important that you take this water, go ahead and put your frag plugs and your original colonies, put those back in the tank, and get rid of this water as soon as you can. There are stories out there of dogs drinking the water or trying to drink the water, getting a little bit, and dying. This is very serious to deal with these creatures, because they are very, very poisonous. Again, I just want to reiterate that. So that's the way we do the zoos. We're going to go back to the main tank. If you have any questions or comments about this or anything else we've done, please leave the comments there, or direct message me, and we can talk about it. So that's it for this session. Next week we're going to go over the fish, what we feed the fish, how much we feed the fish to keep them healthy, active, and colorful. And we'll see you next week. Just make sure you subscribe. I'm sure everybody's subscribed. Tell your friends, and see you next week.
Go.
All right. Next up, we're gonna frag some kryptonite candy cane. This is an LPS, large polyp stony. Fairly easy to frag. You just have to frag the skeleton and don't hit any of the skin on it, and then it'll be fine. This one, there's nothing wrong with it. Maybe a couple of dead heads over here, but we're going to go ahead and frag this one up to sell. So we need to look and see where we can cut it. Best thing, we have to get onto the skeleton. Go something about right there on that one. All we do is just clip it right off, and that'll give us a nice piece right there. I'll go ahead and clip this piece off too. Clip it off right on the skeleton, and then that leaves the skeleton like that. And then we don't hit any tissue. It won't hurt the coral at all. And we can do this, and you can actually fresh frag this for people if they want it, if you hit right on the skeleton. And sometimes that happens right there, just like that. And you take the scalpel here that we got at Tractor Supply, and we go ahead and we cut this right here, which I don't have gloves on, so you got to be very careful. So we're going to cut that right there like that, and then that separates out. You see kind of the gooey gel on there? It'll get a little bit gooey. So what we do is we take these and we'll switch them in some water to get that jelly off of them. We'll set them down here to dry just a little bit, and then we'll mount them on some plugs ready for people. Dry the skeleton out a little bit. Get it on there to where you see the glue is holding on it. And we'll put that off to the side to dry. This one here we can probably take and cut just a little bit on the bottom side on the skeleton here, so we create a spot to glue to. That'll be a little piece right there. I really should be wearing gloves. As you may can hear, my return pump is pumping a little bit of air, so we're going to have to take care of that right after this. Got one more here. Now we're going to go ahead and, those heads are probably dead, so we'll go ahead and cut those off also. And that way more little sprouts can grow off the side there instead of having a dead head like that. That one may be okay. We'll go ahead and trim this up so we can get a nice flat bottom for it, so we can get it mounted on the frag plug there. Again, I don't like to use a lot of glue. It seems like if you use a little bit less glue, the skeleton will, and the skin will come down and adhere to the frag plug a lot better. So we're going to leave those right there to dry for just a little bit, and that's how we do those. So we have our frags here that we came off those that are ready for customers, and we still have our main colony that's going to be in the tank. So we're going to come back, and the next thing we're going to do is fix our tank so we don't have that gurgling sound anymore, and then we will frag us some zoanthids, which are very dangerous, and I'll explain in the next piece. Thank you. Okay, one thing I forgot to mention in the prior was a good set of safety glasses. You need some kind of safety glasses, especially whenever we're fragging zoos like we're going to be. You don't want the palytoxin in your eyes. So that being said, we're going to go ahead and frag this hard colony right here, and this is the way we do it. So we try to look for a piece that's not been bleached or anything like that. As you can see, that piece right there, all along there, that's a good piece that we can get. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to frag that piece off and then hold it here in our holding tank. So what we do is we just find the piece above where it's been bleached out, and we're going to cut it off. And then we're going to look at it, and we're going to see if we got any other kind of bleaches on it that we can take off, like that little piece right there. We're going to go ahead and cut that piece off too. We're going to leave that one out. And that one's something that we're going to go ahead and mount here in just a second whenever we get finished with all this. There's a few more pieces right up there. As you can see where the tissue is coming up and bleaching out, and the algae is leaving the skeleton. That's what happens right there. So we're going to go and cut above that and cut it right into there, and then have our piece sitting in there waiting for us to mount up. I'm going to go ahead and cut this one off here too. As you can see, this one up here is bleached quite a ways up, maybe on a piece right there, so we're going to go ahead and cut that piece right there. Sometimes whenever they aren't quite, the corals aren't quite as expensive as these, you may not want to save all of it or as much as you can. This is a fairly expensive coral, so we're going to try to save as much of it as we can. You see a little piece right there, we're going to go ahead and cut that off. Take that out. We're going to go ahead and cut this big piece off right down here so we can see it and inspect it and see how much more we have to cut off. And there's little pieces on there, probably won't be able to be saved. That's about all we can get off of that colony, which some of you will cry whenever you see this because it's a Hawkins echinata, and it's pretty expensive. So as you can see here, the coral's coming up. What we want to do is we want to cut that off as high as we can above the bleaching part so we get that out of the way. And then we try to cut it off as square as we can because we're going to be mounting it. There's a couple more pieces that came off here. Like that. So then that's not too bad right there. We're going to leave it just like that. There's another little piece. So there we go on that. That's all pretty much, except for a little piece right there that I cut. We'll go ahead and we can put some glue on that, and then we can mount that. We're going to go ahead and do that one first. So what I like to do is I take my corals, whenever the super glue gets wet, go ahead and it cures a little bit faster and a little bit different. So what I like to do is I go ahead and dip these down on the towel. This is a clean towel. Dip these down here and try to dry them off just a little bit and set them there. They're fine out of the water for just a little while. They'll be fine. So we'll take our glue here and we'll put a little dab of glue on there. All right. I don't like to put too much glue and just glob it on there. It seems better to put a little bit less glue, and then we can do that. And what we'll do here is we'll put some glue on this right here, so it'll go ahead and glue that skin down, so we won't have to put quite as much glue on there. I've saved a few colonies just by putting glue on them. I've got a nice mother pearl colony in there that I just super glued a little bit whenever I noticed that they were starting to STN, and I was able to save that colony just by doing that. Getting a little low on glue there. We might have to go to the other one. Now what I can do with another piece of another frag plug like that is just kind of wedge it up there and just let it sit there just like that. And that's the way we're going to do that. That's going to sit there until it dries. I think we may be out of glue on this one. We may have to go ahead and open our other one. There's a little bit, and we'll find us another nice piece on here to go ahead and glue up. This is a good piece right there. You can see that there's no necrosis on there, and that's a nice piece to try to save. We'll go ahead and dab that, try to get it a little bit dry on the bottom. Make sure you don't have any fans on, any ceiling fans or anything like that. That'll dry the coral out, and you'll have less success whenever you're doing this. It's not as easy as it looks. It's not easy at all. Okay, we'll let that sit there for a minute. Now, the time that it takes for the glue to dry, sometimes you just gotta kind of play it by ear. You can do 2 or 3 plugs. Then once you take the other plug, whenever that one's kind of dry, then we'll put it in some water. Take another little piece here. Good piece, you can inspect it. That's a good little piece right there. And a lot of times you can take it, and sometimes they'll just stand right up on their own if the glue is dry enough. And you cut the bottom flat enough. And we can let that sit there and dry. And there's some more pieces in there like that. That's fine. This one should be semi-dry. You're able to pick this up, turn it over. You'll be able to do that, and we'll put that in the water. And once you put it in the water like that, it helps cure. It also helps cure the glue. So that helps that. This one should be ready also. It doesn't take too long with this glue. Just get them like that, and then we'll put a couple more here. Let's see if we can get this other glue going. Let's try some of this. No, this is actually a lot less. This is more viscous. Alright, that's good to know. Good possibility that this won't work. Or it's less viscous, I mean. And there we go. Okay, we'll let that sit there for a second. Got a couple more here we can do real quick. Let's try some more with this non-gel. Liquid control. Alright. Non-gel. Let's see if this one's done enough that we can dunk. Help carry that along a little bit. Okay. So, got a few more little pieces here. I'll go ahead and do those off camera, and we'll get ready for the next one. We're probably going to do I'm going to show you how to do an LPS with a hammer coral coming up next. Okay, here we are set up to frag our first coral. It's going to be a Hawkins echinata. You can see the colony here that I've placed in the dish. I was hoping it would stop. It hasn't stopped, so we're going to try to save that coral. First off, I want to go over a few things on the table here that you should have, and that helps you out whenever in the fragging process. First thing, probably one of the most important things, is gloves. You can buy these. These are the nitrile gloves, powder free. You can buy these on Amazon.com. You get 50 gloves for about $12 to $15. It's something great to have whenever you're fragging corals. Another thing you're going to have is your bone cutters. You can get these at just about any fish store, local fish store, or you can get them online. I think I got these Amazon. I think they're about $7 or $8. These are the small ones. This is another item here. This is a scalpel with all your blades in it. It's a castration kit. You can get this I got this just a little while ago at Tractor Supply. So that includes your scalpel, your blades, and everything. Everything's all sterile. Everything's perfect. This kit costs $7. If you don't have a Tractor Supply, you can probably get it at a feed store or something like that. Next up, we're going to talk about the glues. I have a couple different types of glues that I like to use. The best and most is easiest to come by is the Ultra Gel Control from Loctite. Get this at Home Depot, Lowe's, just about anywhere. You have the Ultra Liquid Control, same thing pretty much. Another thing that you can use is the JB Water Weld. You can also get this at Home Depot or Lowe's. This is something that it's a two-part. You mix it up, and then you stick your coral in it on the plug or on the rock in the tank, and it's completely reef safe. So we have those as the control, or as the glue. We have a couple different style of reef plugs here. I like to use the Ocean Wonders coral plugs. I think you can get 100 of these for $20, Amazon or eBay. They are compressed aragonite. So these are sand. So these are great to use. You can also get the little bit bigger ones or the smaller ones, whichever way you want to go. But these are ceramic. I don't use these as much as I do the compressed aragonite. These seem to work really well. So we have in our dishes here, we have alcohol, so we can clean our instruments between corals, because we don't want to transfer any type of something that's been on this coral and aggravating it. We don't want to transfer it to another coral, or we don't want to transfer part of this coral onto another coral and continue the process of the necrosis. We have a single dish here of salt water. We're going to be cutting our main colony and putting our pieces in there ready to frag. And of course, this is our colony that we're getting ready to frag, and our little frag rack here that we make here at Lone Star Reef, and that's going to be what we're going to put our frags in to hold while the glue dries. So I'm going to move some of this stuff out of the way, put on some gloves, and then we're going to go.